Okay. Good morning. Welcome to the First Unitarian Society of Madison. My name is Kelly Asprooth-Jackson, and I am one of the ministers here. Today, I am joined by the worship team of Karen Polnitz, Linda Warren, Drew Collins, Stephen Gregorius, and Daniel Carnes. A big thanks to the Society Choir for being with us this morning. This morning, I want to give credit to all of those volunteering in many roles who make this service possible. Our greeter was Ann Smiley. Our ushers are Alice Delaquis, Brian Frey, and Kim Steggy. Our coffee makers, that all-important role, are Jen Gaber, Jeannie Hills, and Mary Myers. Thank you to you all. At First Unitarian Society, we question boldly, listen humbly, grow spiritually, act courageously, and love unapologetically. If you are visiting us today, welcome. We are so very glad that you are with us. If you would like more information about First Unitarian Society, please stop by the welcome table located in the Commons. We hope that you will stay and join us for coffee hour immediately after the service, also in the Commons, which I guess you're new here, I should tell you, is back through those doors and to what will then be your left. For those connecting with us virtually today, we are glad that you are with us as well, and we hope that you'll be able to stay online for a moment after the service ends to watch the announcement slides and learn more about upcoming programs and activities. We are in the midst of our annual stewardship campaign here at FUS, and today's service includes a special ritual to bless the pledges of financial support made to our congregation in the year ahead. When we speak of giving, we often extend an invitation and a gratitude for the way that we share our time and our talents. As a congregation, time and talent take many forms, all of which serve to ensure the smooth operations of our regular practices and enrich the life that we build together. What does that actually look like? What forms of giving take place each week or throughout the year that put our time and our talents to use? Some of us stopped by the religious exploration greeter table on our way in today to add a picture or some words or our name to a banner of gifts, creating a visual representation of all the ways our giving shapes community here at FUS. If you didn't get a chance to add to this banner before the service, you are still invited to do so. You can join our artists up here on the carpet in the next several minutes of the service to find, or you can find it in the Commons after the service if you want to make a contribution later on. The banner will be raised in a little bit, and after that point, you will be invited to come forward to the vessels that are here in front. Some of you brought your pledge forms with you today. Thank you. We would be very pleased to receive them in those vessels. Some of you maybe already made a pledge, or you're still considering your pledge, or you're new here and it's not really time for you to be thinking about a pledge yet. You might have grabbed one of the contribution cards that was offered to you by an usher on the way in, hopefully. There's places there to note, like a financial pledge. There's also ways there to note, I have this intent about something I'm going to contribute to the church in terms of my time or my abilities this year. There's also a space there to ask a question that you might have or seek some more information. So it's sort of an all-purpose card. So when you're called forward, you might bring up a completed pledge card. You might bring up one of those slips of paper you got on the way in. You might also just bring yourself. If you do not have something to put in the vessel, we still want you to come forward. Karen and I would like to thank you in that moment and to offer everyone who comes up a packet of seeds as a gesture of gratitude from the congregation. So again, when you're invited forward, please come forward. And now I invite you to join me in a moment of silence as we center ourselves and bring ourselves fully into this time, joining together once again in community. A call to worship is secretly a call to focus our attention. Choosing to focus our attention is countercultural.
Daily, we are called to worship at the altar of many devices, surveillance systems we let take lead over our every waking moment. We are called by headlines set purely on our activation and by tools that gamify our every human connection. We are not called, we are led. We are not led, we are entrapped.
Instead, here, we practice being called. We are called to bring our attention to the altar of unpredictable human relatedness.
We are called by these ancestors, this wood, this room's particular light, this chalice's particular fire, and these children.
We are called to focus all our attention on a foolhardy and open-hearted commitment to share a future together that we cannot cancel or control.
In the words of the poet-farmer Wendell Berry, we are called here to do something today that does not compute.
Spirit of life, call our collective attention to this precise moment, the threshold between then and now, the moment upon which we hang our honest promises like portraits chiseled and framed by our own hands, imperfectly and together.
Come, let us worship together.
And now I invite you to rise in all the ways that we do and to join me in the words of aspiration for the kindling of our chalice flame. As we light this flame, we celebrate that we are all sacred beings, diverse in culture, experience, and theology. Let us embrace our differences and commonalities with love, curiosity, and respect as we covenant to learn from one another in our free and responsible search for truth and meaning. And now I invite you to reach out to those around you and greet each other with signs of love and peace.
Good morning. Let's raise our voices in song as we sing together our opening hymn, number 360 in the gray hymnal or on the screen. Here we have gathered.
As we prepare to welcome, give thanks for, and bless the many forms of your giving, I'm going to first invite my artists to show you their work by lifting this banner together. We're really into this process. So can everyone take a little break from coloring? And we're gonna move off the banner so that we can lift it up together and show all of you some of the illustrations of these ways that we make this community together. And whether you see something now or later in the Commons, perhaps there's an invitation of a new way that you might connect with this community or give of your many gifts. Thank you. I'm going to help us move it aside for the next part of our ritual.
Friends, our congregation is based in a reverence for the truth, bound together by the principle of free thought and the pursuit of a life of integrity. Much has changed in the nearly 150 years that we have been here, but this much has not. For decades before any of us were born, people who never knew us and never will gave the work of their hands and the coins in their pockets to build this spiritual community and to pass it on to us. Today is a day when we renew our responsibility to be its stewards for one more year. Let all of our giving come from our gratitude and from our hope. In a few moments, as the music plays, I invite each of you to come forward and to return your pledge card, your contribution card, or just your generous spirit to the congregation. Please use the center aisle once it's clear. We're almost there. And then use the side aisles to recess. The flow will work a little bit more smoothly then. Again, I make the invitation very earnestly. Please come up, come forward. We want to thank you and to offer you a small token of appreciation. All right. Please come forward now. Money is made out of work. It is made possible by more work from parents and teachers and partners and friends and strangers. Now, this money pledged is to make possible the work of this congregation. May this house be blessed in the receiving of it, and may the hands and the minds and all the people who made the making of it possible be blessed in the giving. Amen.
And now we'll sing the children on the way to their classes. Now I invite us all to remain seated and sing Voice Still and Small, hymn number 391 in the gray hymnal or on the screen. We'll sing it twice through together. Voice still and small, deep inside all, I hear you call, singing. In storm and rain, sorrow and pain, still you remain, singing. Calming my fears, quenching my tears, through all the years, singing. Voice still and small, deep inside all, I hear you call, singing. In storm and rain, sorrow and pain, still you remain, singing. Calming my fears, quenching my tears, through all the years,
Our inspiration this morning comes from Eve Driver. It is all blooming too quickly to write a poem about it. I cannot blink enough times and still see everything that needs to be added to the list of beautiful things. Why is it that the good begets the good until there is more of it than any of us need right now? More dogs, more wide-legged trousers, more people sitting down at picnic tables and introducing themselves for the first time, more children running around the bases, more women lying on benches with books in their hands and rollerblades on their feet. Where was all this, I want to ask, when we needed it? Where will it be when we need it again? If I sit at enough sidewalk tables and do enough slow laps around the block, will it linger on me like the smell of fire on jeans the next morning? Or must I scream to everyone, come right now? You've got to see this. If you don't come now, you'll miss it. All of the Christmases of my childhood were spent in Rockford, Illinois, in the house where my mother was raised. And for all of those that I can remember, my mother was the cook for Christmas dinner. She's a great cook. And she always wants to make sure everybody gets to eat something that they'll really enjoy. At Christmas time, this meant both preparing a sort of generic American Christmas dinner, turkey, stuffing, mashed potatoes, and the elements of a traditional Swedish Christmas, tiny meatballs, and a type of beef, pork, and barley sausage called korv. But at the end of the meal, there was one item that everybody looked forward to, even her most notoriously picky child. The famous chocolate wafer dessert. It is not particularly complicated. It's just a log made out of these store-bought chocolate wafers that are a little bit like Oreo cookie caps, alternated with whipped cream, and left in the refrigerator long enough that the cream gets a little bit stiffer and the wafers get a lot softer. Before I was born, my grandmother used to make it for her family at Christmas, so my mom made it for hers. There were plenty of other things to look forward to in my family's celebration of Christmas, but that was always what the holiday tasted like for my brothers and I. And then, one day, many years ago now, my mother was making plans for a party sometime in the middle of the year. She said that she might make that chocolate wafer dessert, and one of my brothers heard this, and with a great deal of surprise, he said, "But you can only get those wafers in December, though." "Oh no, they sell them all year round." "But you can only find them in Illinois, right?" "No, they're just in the baking aisle. I'll get some when I go to the store later." "You mean we could have had this anytime we wanted?" The look on my brother's face at that moment spoke of hundreds of moments, hundreds of holidays wasted. Of birthdays and Halloweens and 4th of Julys, Groundhog's Days, Arbor Days, any conceivable excuse to celebrate when he could have asked my mother to make the famous chocolate wafer dessert, but didn't. All those years spent looking forward to that treat for months when he could have been enjoying it right then. Waiting is a huge part of living, but it is not always easy. And as my brother's story demonstrates, it can sometimes feel like there is no point to it at all. Yet the skill and the discipline of waiting can be life-saving and meaning-making. The King James Version of the book of Isaiah reads, "They that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint." When we point ourselves towards a purpose that is deep enough to sustain our efforts, it allows us to wait to act until the time is right and keep struggling, even when it is hard and the end is not in sight. This is in tension with the fact that the virtue of patience is also the tired excuse of every voice that would postpone the work of justice. and shirk the struggle for what is right out of complacency or fear. So when we are considering what sort of waiting we are doing, whether or not it is the sort that we want to be about, it may be helpful to think about cookies. When you make cookies, just as when you make the famous chocolate wafer dessert, there's a bit of waiting involved. In fact, the waiting is the most important part, because the time that they spend baking is what makes the difference between sugary goo, which is tasty, if a little bit risky if you used actual eggs, and actually ready-to-eat cookies. But if you never make up the batter, if you never spoon it out onto sheets, if you never put those sheets in the oven, well, then it does not matter how long you wait for. The cookies ain't coming. Now, there's always the outside chance that while you are waiting patiently with an empty oven, a friend might call you up and say, "Help, come quick, I have too many cookies and I need you to eat some of them." But that should be chalked up to the generosity and the mercy of a generous universe, not the fact that you were aimlessly waiting. So you can draw a dividing line between anticipation with a purpose and just waiting around by asking yourself, are there cookies in the oven? In one of his sonnets, the poet John Milton wrote about doubt and patience at a time when he was losing his sight and finding that he knew how to do less and less without it. When I consider how my light is spent ere half my days in this dark world and wide, and that one talent which is death to hide lodged with me useless, though my soul more bent to serve there with my Maker and present my true account, lest he returning chide, doth God exact day labor, light denied? I fondly ask, but patience, to prevent that murmur, soon replies. God doth not need either man's work or his own gifts. Who best bear his mild yoke, they serve him best. His state is kingly, thousands at his bidding speed, and post o'er land and ocean without rest. They also serve who only stand and wait. At a time when he found he could do little more than wait, a voice of comfort came to Milton to remind him that there was something sacred even in the waiting. That sacredness, I believe, is again in the difference between marking time, just to have it be over and done, and staying ready for something important to come, even if we don't know what that might be. As Aaron Burr sings in the quasi-historical musical Hamilton, when he considers what meaning there could be in the death of his parents, in his being an orphan. Death doesn't discriminate between the sinners and the saints. It takes and it takes and it takes, and we keep living anyway. We rise and we fall and we break and we make our mistakes. If there's a reason I'm still alive when everyone who loves me has died, I'm willing to wait for it. I'm willing to wait for it. Sometimes we don't know what we're waiting for. We never really know with certainty what will come next in life. But in times of crisis, of profound loss, grief, pain, our ability to see our way to anything joyful or hopeful in the future can shrink down to almost nothing. In such times, just waiting, practicing a curious openness to what might come next becomes courage in itself. Because grace, fate, destiny, these words are just names for chance, redeemed by the purpose that we put it to. Staying ready to put whatever comes next in the chaos of events to good purpose, to practice kindness taught to us by suffering, or to teach wisdom learned from pain. That is the sacred sort of waiting. The ability to wait towards a purpose, the virtue of patience, is affirmed throughout human religion and culture. The stock story of the would-be pupil who must wait for days, exposed to the elements before being allowed to enter some school or monastery, appears variously in Chinese Buddhism, in early Egyptian Christianity, and in the book and the movie Fight Club, among many other places. In the Buddhist tradition, one of the 6 perfections, the stages of purification on the route to enlightenment, is kshanti. Kshanti means patience, particularly the ability to endure in the face of harassment or violence. It is a particularly hard thing to master. In one of the Tibetan Buddhist teacher Patrul Rinpoche, his stories, he happened upon a cave in the mountains where a monk sat by himself. Patrul shouted into the cave, "Hello in there! What are you doing?" The monk tried first to ignore him, and then he tried giving back his own questions. "Who are you? Where do you come from?" But the monk only got puzzling, unsatisfying replies. "I come from behind my back, and I am going in the direction I am facing." Eventually, the monk gave in a bit and explained that he was cultivating perfect patience. "Ah," said Patrul, "that sounds like a very good scam. The locals must be gullible around here. How much do you make in the meditation racket?" Exasperated, the seated monk burst out angrily, "Who are you? This is my cave. This is my holy work. No one invited you in here. Now kindly leave." "And where," asked Patrul Rinpoche, "is your perfect patience now?" We Unitarian Universalists have a story from our history that is really all about the power of waiting, and I am going to tell it to you. But first, I want to give you some practical information related to goings-on in present-day Unitarian Universalism. Our congregation is part of an association of congregations, the way that we choose to organize ourselves as Unitarian Universalists. Each congregation, ours and all the others, gets to make its own choices, choose its own ministers, set its own budget, etc. But we do encourage each other from time to time to think and reflect deeply on a particular topic. That process is called a study action issue, and we are in the midst of one of these right now. It is the first time in several years that there has been a study action issue, and it's many more years since the last time that there was one that really got this congregation's attention. Participation is voluntary, after all. So I want to explain to you how they work. Study action issues are chosen by the General Assembly, the annual gathering of delegates from our many congregations that makes decisions about the things that we do together each June. Last June, they chose the issue that we would collectively encourage each other to study about. This year is focused on that study, and it may be extended for one more year. That question is actually currently open, and it will be settled in the next few months. So depending on what happens there, either this fall or next fall, the next practical step is that the first draft of a proposed statement of conscience on the chosen issue will be put out by our Commission on Social Witness. Our congregation and all of the other congregations will be asked to consider that statement, to provide feedback for possible changes to it, and ultimately to vote on whether or not we should adopt it as an association. This is the process by which our movement takes major positions on matters of social concern. The study action issue currently underway is focused on abolitionism, that is, replacing systems and cultures of violence, coercion, and control with transformative justice and relational practices. There will be a service that is entirely focused on this topic here next month. And our criminal justice reform team are working on a number of programming opportunities to help you to go deeper on the subject as you are able and interested. Now, I tell you this mostly to let you know what is already going on and what is coming so that you can wait for it. But that particular topic of abolitionism does have a natural connection, specifically to the Universalist branch of our tradition. And it is from that Universalist branch that the story that I promised to tell you comes. So, in 1760, there was a farmer living near the New Jersey coast who was a Universalist. By Universalist, I mean in this case that he believed in a God too loving and too merciful to condemn any person to an eternity of suffering. And so he held that all human beings share the same destiny. We are all one day, one way or another, going home. Exactly how he came to be a Universalist is a little bit uncertain. He had friends and family who were Baptists and some others who were Quakers, and he seems to have been influenced by both. There were a few communities of both of these groups at the time that seemed to have been anti-hell, and he might have been influenced by these. There was even a Universalist missionary active on the East Coast in those days, and it's fascinating to think that he might have met with this isolated farmer. We know that this man could not read, but he did have folks in his life who read the Bible to him. So it might also be that he came by his theology, came to be one of our theological ancestors, with a little help through the single most common means by which Universalists have been made historically: actually reading the Bible for yourself. So this man, a Universalist in America, was a novelty in 1760, according to our history, as we usually tell it, because there were no Universalists in America. Funny contradiction, right? This illiterate farmer had the gumption to join our movement even before it had begun. Although, as I've said, he was not the only person then alive who contradicted the idea that Universalism in America had not begun yet. He does seem to have been fairly lonely in his beliefs. He was isolated enough that he built a chapel on his acreage, which was free and non-sectarian and open to worship by just about anyone. But his hope was that one day a Universalist minister would preach a Universalist sermon in that place. This farmer's name was Thomas potter. And it just so happens that there came a day when he met another man named John Murray. Sometimes we call John Murray the founder of American Universalism. He was the founding minister of the first Universalist congregation in North America, in Gloucester, Massachusetts. So when we tell this story, Murray usually takes the lead. It is sometimes said to be our one and only miracle story. Murray was a Methodist preacher in England who had lost his community after becoming convinced of Universalism. He left Great Britain alone and in disgrace, determined to lose himself in America and give up on preaching altogether. But his ship became stranded off the coast of New Jersey. He and the other passengers went ashore. Asking where he might find supplies, John was directed to Thomas Potter's house. It is not clear how the one recognized the other as a fellow Universalist. John Murray was tormented by his religious identity, and it was not likely he was wearing it on his sleeve. But once Thomas knew that this stranger brought his way through a strange chain of events was a preacher of Universalism, he was convinced that his vision for his little chapel would be fulfilled. Thomas eventually wore John down, and he preached his first sermon in America on September 30th, 1770. Now, told from John's perspective, this is a story about the force of history, perhaps the hand of providence, winning out against all odds and driving a famous man on into an important destiny. But told from Thomas's perspective, it is a story about patience and bold, intentional waiting, the wherewithal to build a church with no minister or congregation, and to wait 10 years, hoping to see it put to use. When the things that we hope for, long for, plan for, wait for, when one of these things comes to pass, the moment can taste very sweet. So sweet, in fact, that there is a powerful temptation to rush it along, to convince ourselves that the moment has arrived when it is still far off. The history of a number of religions, including Judaism and Christianity, offers many examples of millennial thinking. People certain that the end of the old order was just around the corner and that the world was about to be completely upended and transformed. These predictions seem so far not to have come to pass. Unless you think of this as just a habit of fundamentalist minds, I would observe that in the years in which I came of age, just before the turn of the millennium, were openly referred to by calm and serious minds as the end of history. So far, history seems to persist. Just as my brother might have wanted to eat famous chocolate wafer dessert every night for a month in the middle of the summer, it is tempting to think that we can rush what we can only actually contribute to. But the things that are truly worthy of our waiting, the struggles that deeply deserve our energies, require patience in order to achieve. If you have the treat in August, it might taste good, but it will never be everything that it would be in December. The discipline of waiting is not a good all by itself, but it is good for how it can point our living towards a more meaningful life, and for the sweetness that it adds when our visions finally begin to take form. Thank you so much for that beautiful music. I invite you now into this time of giving and receiving, where we give freely and generously to this offering, which supports the ongoing work of this community and the work of our outreach offering recipient, whom this week is Moses's Deferred Prosecution Program Fund. MOSES stands for Madison Organizing in Strength, Equity, and Solidarity. This is the congregationally based community organizing group that we are a part of as a congregation. Their Deferred Prosecution Program Fund helps individuals who are eligible for deferred prosecution through the Dane County District Attorney's Office to participate in situations where resources would be a barrier. By helping to settle relatively small court fees and other liabilities, they are helping to make this alternative to incarceration more equitable and accessible. Last year, the DPP was part of our outreach offering for the first time, and we contributed $1,195.50 to its efforts. Today, we are joined by Liza Monroe from our criminal justice reform team to tell us about the impact of those funds.
In the past year, the fund received and fulfilled 4 requests totaling $1,124. All requests assisted in paying off the balance of restitution owed as part of people's deferred prosecution agreement contracts, with an average amount of $281. The grants were small, but their impacts were not. In the first situation, Mr. D had lost his job because of his case. He was able to find a new job at a fast food restaurant, but his weekly work hours were frequently and unexpectedly reduced. In the second case, after she signed her DPP contract, Ms. G needed to take a leave of absence from her job to become the sole caregiver for her father, who ultimately passed away. In the third situation, Mr. R had 5 cases and owed more than $5,000 total in restitution. After years of working with DPP, he was able to pay off almost all the restitution he owed. And in the fourth situation, Mr. Y fulfilled the other requirements of his contract, including paying for counseling, but found the $200 balance on the restitution owed impossible to afford. Thank you for continuing to make a difference and support our neighbors who are working to defer from prison.
Thank you, Liza. There are multiple ways to share your gifts today. You can donate directly from our website, fusmadison.org, or you will see on the screen our text to give information. And now baskets will be passed here in the auditorium for cash or checks. We thank you for your generosity and your faith in this life we create together. Each week we gather, bringing with us the joys and the losses of our days. We share these here, knowing they are held in love, in care, and in support. Joy Stiglitz-Gottschalk and the entire Gottschalk family ask us to light a candle in memory of Becky Green, a dear friend who passed away unexpectedly last weekend. Becky was an adoring mother, a deeply beloved wife, and a friend to countless people throughout the Madison community. Becky was also a leader and a change maker. As the assistant executive director and co-founder with her husband, Will, of Mentoring Positives, Becky supported countless at-risk youth in Madison through mentoring, entrepreneurship, and athletics, focusing on building life skills, self-confidence, and positive attitudes. Becky was a ray of light with a glowing smile and infectious energy whose light was dimmed far too soon. She will be deeply missed by all who knew her, and her legacy will live on in all whose lives she touched. In a nation at war, we light a candle for peace. May the powerful be humbled, may the wrathful be calmed, may the vulnerable be shielded, may the bombs cease to fall. One of us asks that we light a candle this morning for Liam, to honor and witness their struggle with cancer, sending love to family and friends as they accompany Liam. And one of us asks us to light a candle for Chloe, who is recovering from heart surgery. Though she has a long road ahead, we wish a full and complete return to her beautiful life. And we acknowledge all that lives in our hearts, the joy, the celebration, the sorrow, and the loss. May we know that we are held in love. If you will join me now in a moment of meditation and contemplation with these words from Lore Stevens. Our culture is loud. It clamors and clangs for our attention. We're told to be silent when we misbehave. Go to time out and think about what you did. Silence starts to make us nervous. Our mind learns to also clamor and clang. But silence is not a punishment. It's peace. Silence can be a warm blanket, a listening friend, a channel for the ever-flowing river of love. Let us open our hearts for a few moments in this precious silence. Amen. There is love holding us. There is love holding all that we love. There is love holding all we rest in His And now, friends, I invite you to rise one more time in body and or spirit. Join me in our closing hymn, number 128, in your silver and gray hymnals or on the screen, For All That Is Our Life, 128. For all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is a gift, which we are called to use to build a common good. As we extinguish this flame, may we carry its smoke with us into the streets, into the places where holiness is hard to see, but always waiting to be noticed. Let us go with eyes open for wonder in the worn out, with reverence for each passerby, and with the knowing that the sacred does not hide from the world, it lives in it. Go now, not to escape the brokenness, but to journey beside it, and sometimes to bless it. Blessed be. Go in peace, and please be at rest for the postlude.